And I'm back. And now we are in the divisional playoff portion of the 2012 NFL postseason. Got the Elite Eight in the NFL, and today's matchups are probably the best half of the divisional playoff rounds matchups, as we have the Denver Broncos taking on the Baltimore Ravens and the Green Bay Packers taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, we will start with the first game, which is going to air, which is the AFC divisional matchup between Baltimore and Denver. Now, Baltimore's coming off of their victory over the Indianapolis Colts, which we now know as Ray Lewis's final home game, and now his quest is to basically go out a champion. And so he's got the arduous task, him and that defense, of going to Mile High and stopping the AFC's offensive juggernaut known as the Broncos. Broncos, by virtue of going 13-3 and Houston losing their final 2 out of 3 games, they got home field advantage. So they're coming off of a bye, fresh, off of a week's worth of rest, just to try to figure out who they're going to face. And they know they got Baltimore. If you remember, they went to Baltimore and thumped them. Now, it wasn't an offensive assault. It was more their defense, as Flacco threw a pick six, and really Denver's defense just stifled them. And, of course, Baltimore was going into this game after having fired Cam Cameron and Jim Caldwell basically 6 days into his new duties as being the offensive play caller. Now, this matchup is going to be interesting. This matchup is going to be real interesting because, well, for one, Denver's at home. And we know Denver in home playoff games, they tend to bring it. But there's a little intrigue into this because now they're going in with Peyton Manning. This is Peyton Manning's postseason debut as a Denver Bronco, rather. But he has a track record that's pretty notorious, whereas when the temperature dips below, 40 degrees, he's 0-3 in postseason play. Now, granted, he's at home. He's at Denver, so this is home field, but that little nugget sticks out because it's supposed to get down to 20 degrees for this game. And so Peyton's ability to win a postseason game in frigid weather will be tested. But, like I said, he's got an offensive juggernaut. He's got Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, McGahee, Moreno. Basically, that offense rolled through the AFC. And, of course, that defense. And, of course, this is the same defense that was doing it big last season when they had Tebow under the helm, with Doomerville and Von Miller and Champ Bailey, guys like that. They're gonna have to bring their A game as usual to make sure that they make it to the next round. Baltimore, on the other hand, Flacco actually had a really good game last week. 3 touchdown passes, it was 2 touchdown passes rather. But Anquan Bolden just was on fire in this game against the Colts, and getting Ray Rice on track. Of course, Ray Rice got to handle those fumbles, buddy. Otherwise, they're going to switch up to that rookie that they had. I think his last name is Pierce. My apologies. I should have did some more research on him. But offensively, they looked a hell of a lot better than they did. And, of course, with Ray Lewis coming back, and last week was the first time in a long time this season that Baltimore had their core 4 on defense with Haloti Ngata, Terrell Suggs, Ray Lewis, and Ed Reed. And they have those same 4 again. And remember, the first matchup between these two teams in the regular season, Ray Lewis was nowhere to be found. He was still healing that triceps injury. So, having said all that, who do I think wins this game? Like I said, this one's going to be interesting. Of course, every sports writer and network sports analyst, they're dick riding the whole Brady Manning AFC Championship matchup, salivating at it. And if it wasn't for Brady and Manning, Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison wouldn't be doing that Football Night in America pregame, whatnot, because they're only there because of the strength of the whole Colts-Patriots rivalry, which maybe just because I'm an NFC boy, but I never really saw it as much as a rivalry as so much Belichick pretty much owning Dungy at will. But having said all that, semantics aside, they're all clamoring and just saying that this is going to be unanimous, that Denver is going to beat Baltimore and, move on to the AFC Championship. As much as I talked about them, I'll agree. It's going to be close. This is not going to be a blowout by any stretch. I think both defenses are going to be locked in. I think that it's going to come down to Peyton actually making one more play. Just one more play. And I'm not saying that Flacco and him are going to have a shootout. Flacco and he, rather, grammar. But I think that for them being at home, it gives them just a little bit more of an edge. And I think that, unfortunately, this is Ray Lewis's last game. So I see this being a 24-21 game. Maybe Prater will be the one to kick Denver into the AFC Championship, but I think this is Ray Lewis's swan song in this game. So I'm going with Denver. Next matchup, and this is a non-homerish one, and I will have a homerish one next following, but this one's going to be this one should be the NFC Championship. It could be. It could have been. It should have been. However you want to look at it. This one's going to be a great matchup. The Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Packers are coming off their victory against the Minnesota Vikings. And, of course, the Packers, winners in the NFC North, they had a chance to get that first-round bye had they beaten the team that they beat last week. But they lost. The Niners won, even after the week prior getting curb stomped by the Seahawks. The Niners won their last game. The Packers lost their last game. Hence why this game is in San Francisco and not Green Bay. But this one's going to be a dynamic matchup. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who's been playing lights out in these last few weeks. And, of course, they're pumping up this storyline about him still being salty about not being drafted by San Francisco in the 2005 NFL Draft. Homie, if you're still salty about that, even after winning a Super Bowl ring and pretty much owning a lot of records outside of that, being the starter for Green Bay, you got problems, son. Get over it. Anybody saying, well, the Niners should have drafted him over Alex Smith. Okay, everybody's clamoring for it, but a lot of people just didn't pay attention to what type of team that the Niners were fielding at that time. The front office, the head coach, and as a matter of fact, the offensive coordinator is his head coach, Aaron Rodgers' head coach. Yes, that's right. Mike McCarthy was the offensive coordinator for the 49ers in 2005. So you don't think he had input on who he wanted to draft as far as the QB and who he wanted to work around? So, having said all that, they're going to pump that storyline up today. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is going to be coming in with his receivers on deck. Jennings, Jordy, James Jones, Randall Cobb, and if he decides to show up, Jermichael Finley, it's going to be contingent upon that running game. And of course, they're thinking that, they finally found the answer to that. But at the same time, they're going up against one of the stoutest rush defenses in the NFL. And I don't think stoutest is the word, so one of the most stout rush defenses in the NFL in the 49ers. And of course, defensively, they've got Charles Woodson back, and they've got Clay Matthews. And Charles Woodson is an X factor in this game because nobody blitzes off the slot better than Charles Woodson. So they're going to be working to get him involved in this matchup quick, fast, and in a hurry. On the other side of the ball, you have the 49ers, who are going into this game with not Alex Smith, but Colin Kaepernick. Now, of course, Alex Smith made his postseason debut last season in a thriller against the New Orleans Saints. Kaepernick is coming into this one brand new. This is his postseason debut as well. And, of course, a lot of the questions are going to be, did Harbaugh make a mistake by having Kaepernick be the starter instead of Alex Smith? Did he make this mistake early in the season? And, of course, they're going to hang that over his head should they lose today. They should have started Alex Smith. Whatever. The main thing is the Niners are at home, and one of the toughest places to play at home. And it's rare if they allow offenses to have a big game. Now, what about the Giants when they ran over them? You turn the ball over 3 times and give them short field, anybody can score. So it wasn't like that they were marching up and down the field at the stick. You give them short field, they will run. They're going to score. But aside from that game, aside from that brain bubble, the Niners are tough at home. And the Packers are going to be bringing a pass-happy offense. So that means that they need Aaron Rodgers to uncork. They need him to ball out for them to have a chance because they don't have a run game. But, like I said, this is about the Niners. So the Niners, of course, are going to be bringing Kaepernick. They're going to be bringing Frank Gore, LaMichael James. And the main thing that's going to be looked at is the receiving core. Now, of course, Manningham is out for the season. Kyle Williams is out. And, of course, everybody knows about Kyle Williams in last year's postseason matchups. But Michael Crabtree and unproven rookie AJ Jenkins, he's gonna have to step in and step up, and of course Randy Moss. Now the other thing is getting Vernon Davis involved. They have got to get him involved in some form, some form of fashion. Period. Him and Delaney Walker, but Vernon Davis needs to be a huge part of this offense from now on. Defensively, of course, everybody knows the Niners defense, but here's the thing: Justin Smith will suit up and play today. And that's huge for the Niners defense. He is the linchpin of that defense. Everybody's seen what happened to the Niners defense when he was out. When he left the second half of the Patriots game. When he was out for the Seahawks game. He is a huge part of that defense. And of course, Isaac Sopoaga, Ray McDonald. Of course, first team All-Pro Aldon Smith. First team All-Pro linebackers Bowman and Willis. You know them. Deshaun Golson, Whitner. But it's really going to be contingent upon the secondary play. I mean, Culliver, Terrell Brown, Carlos Rogers, they're going to have to step up big time like they did in the first matchup. These two teams have played each other in week 1 at Lambeau, and the Niners came out with a victory on this one. And this time, no replacement refs. So, Randall Cobb, if you score a touchdown on a punt return, you better hope your boy doesn't get called for a block in the back again. But this time it's going to be different because everybody's saying this is not the same Packers team. True, but this isn't the same Niners team either because they won that game with Alex Smith. Now they're going into this with Colin Kaepernick, who they're hoping has this, brings more of the big play dynamic. The run game and being able to throw the deep ball and things of that nature. So who do I think wins this game? It's going to be close. It's going to be tough. I mean, the first one was a nail-biter, and this one's going to be no different. But I'm going with my Niners. Yeah, I said my Niners. Why would I pick against my team? I did it in week 1. I did that. Mea culpa time. I picked against them in week 1. And I'm happy I was wrong on that one, to be honest. To be very honest. But, yeah, it's going to be a nail-biter. I say 30-27. This one's going to be it's going to be a back and forth battle. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter straight up. So, Broncos, Niners, those are my picks for the first half. So, tune in when I give you Sunday's divisional matchups and predictions. Until then, out.